guys, welcome back to another episode of 4K Garage, and it's a little bit different this time. In this episode we're going to be turning this into this. Now as I say, it's a little bit different to normal, without any work to do on the GT86. Just thought I'd do a few little jobs here and there, and one of them was turning some old pistons into some nice clocks. I've had these lying around for a few years now, since we rebuilt the engine on the old VX220. They haven't been doing a huge amount, and figured why not spruce them up a little, put a little clock face in, make a really nice little piston clock. So I've got a few of these to do, and I end up going to be selling them. As you can see, they're a little bit rusty. The piston's absolutely fine, just a little bit dirty, all the carbon there. So we've got to clean these up either way. So let's hop over to the workshop and start working on them. And at the end of them, we're getting looking just like this. Right, bit of a funny angle for you, looking down at the bench vise. But essentially, we've got two parts here to the rod. Of course, you've got the rod here itself, and you've got the bearing cap. You also have the bolts. These themselves are a little bit rusty, but they're not rusty themselves. It's mostly surface rust from the rod. So we got to clean this up first. Got some funny contours to get into. Just clean up literally every nook and cranny as best we can to stop it from rusting. So we got our clock face in. So to do that, I've got an assortment of things. I've got plenty of Scotch-Brite pads to remove some of the rust and polish it up. I've also got a load of rotary wire brushes, various shapes and materials, so they should do the bulk of the work. And I do also have some metal polish, although I'm probably not going to use it as it's not really, just adds that extra layer of really hard work to get a really uniform polished finish across the whole thing. So I'm just going to go for the kind of dull shine and then lock it in with some clear coat. So we probably won't be using this. But here we are, let's lock it in the vise. Start on the main rod first. Here we go. Should be alright. Let's crack on with the music and get into a time lapse.
I don't know where I am, I don't know where you take me, I don't know where you take me. I just follow your trail and I'm losing your mind and I'm losing your head. Let me escape from this unlove, cause I'm a prisoner. I just want to look my way and never back to you.
Right, so now you can see the difference between the nice new rod and the old cap here. And this, of course, I've only went over this once so far. Probably going to do it again just to polish up any damage I made from putting it in the vise. Areas that are still quite dull. There's a little bit more shine in it to come out. I'll get that out of it with another pass of the wire brushes. Also, I want to talk about some of the processes you could go through to clean this up. Now, of course, here's the last rod in the set, the one you saw earlier, and it's quite a bit more rusty than what you've seen so far. It's all still only surface rust though. You could buy some kind of rust dissolving product and leave these soaking in there, but they're still not going to come up very shiny. You're still probably going to have to go over it with a wire brush when you're said and done regardless. But that would probably be the easiest, as in just chuck it in there, leave it overnight, a couple of days, whatever. Take it out, rinse it off, and it's rust free. Then, like I say, you've got the Scotch-Brite pads, but these can be a lot of work, and you still need to polish it afterwards. So I just think going over it with the wire wheel is just the best way, really. So I'm going to move on to the cap, get this looking good, get the bolts looking good, and then we'll give it all a final polish and a coat of clear. Right, and here we are. So, as you can see, came up very nice. Now all it needs is a little coat of clear to finish it off. Just going to give it a wipe down with some wax and grease remover, and we'll spritz it with some clear. Right, and so now we got the piston to do, and I've just left it soaking in some cleaning solution, nothing particularly magical. Maybe it's broken down some of the carbon. And then the pistons themselves aren't even, I don't quite know what they are. They're not magnetic, so they're either stainless steel, but I doubt that, or they're kind of some kind of aluminium alloy. So they're not rusty, they're just stained and has a build-up of carbon. Another thing when it comes to the piston, you can see I've already cut off all the oil rings and all the piston rings. I don't see that as really looking decent at the end, on the end product. They were just taken out years ago, so it's no big deal. Bang, so what I like to do is lock it in the vise. I've got myself some little bits of Scotch-Brite. I'm just going to start getting some of this carbon off with some of these and some elbow grease, and then I'll move on to the Dremel. Right, so with a large amount of the carbon removed from the what you call the cup bowl of the piston, the next step is now just to be polish it up with the Dremel. I've just got the steel brush on the end here, and I'm just going to go at it really. Should come out quite nice. Let me bring you in a little bit closer, and let's get the time lapse going. Right, and here's where I'm probably going to leave the tip of the piston. Of course, there's plenty of fine little scratches in here, and it's somewhat shiny. I think you could get it shiny if you went back over it with the brown and grey Scotch-Brite, but then you'd really have to polish up with some metal polish, and that would probably bring up super shiny, but it's not really the look I'm going for. I kind of like the more, clean, but not necessarily mirror finish. Of course, the top of the piston is going to be sitting on the bottom, so you're never going to see it. So let's move on now to the sides. So we're going to clamp it in there, not too tight, not to damage the piston top. Same thing, going to take some wire brushes to all this, just clean it up.
I don't know where I am, I don't know where you take me, I don't know where you take me. I just follow your trail and I'm losing your mind and I'm losing your head. Let me escape from this unlove, cause I'm a prisoner. I just want to look my way and never back to you.
And there we have it. Now, much like the rod, just going to give it a coat of clear coat. Now, it doesn't necessarily need it, being that it's probably, well, I don't want to say aluminium, but some kind of alloy. It's not actually going to rust like iron or steel does. But I just want to keep, alloys can still tend to oxidize, and they generally go white, like a hazy white, rather than keep their nice shine. So I'm just going to lock that in with a thin layer of clear coat, and just ties it all together, both rod and piston. So let's get that done, and we'll move on to the last bit. So with that all done, what that's left now is the pin that goes in the middle of the rod and the piston to hold it all together. Now, of course, you could like get out some Scotch-Brite pads or some sandpaper and just work it away, but there's so much easier solution to this, and that is grab yourself a decent long bolt. This is a old suspension arm bolt. The nut that goes on the end, there you go, it's all tied in there. Impact driver, socket on the end, and all I'm going to do is that, as you can see, comes up really nicely. So a little bit more of that, then just polish the ends, and that is that's the pin done. Finally, the light grey Scotch-Brite, just to polish it off. Get the bolt out of there, and it's come up looking fantastic. Now, just got to polish off these ends, and all I'm going to do is stick the Scotch-Brite on the workbench and just run it back and forth. There we go, it's looking fantastic. Stick that in the piston. Right, so here we are. Got the piston done, got the clip done, got the rod itself done. All now I need to do, bolt the cap to the rod and put it all together. So first things first, let's put these bolts in. Just give them a slight layer of grease just so they don't kind of rust, and they're nice and easy to get out in the future. I'm not going to be using anything particularly special, just got some old lithium CV joint grease here. Really got too much really on there, but let's just give it a light smear over all the threads. Hopefully it won't rust, and hopefully if you ever need to change the clock face in it, you won't have any problems getting it out really. Now all I need to do, put these two together. So as you can see, I've already started the pin off in the piston, hammered it in quite literally. Of course, if you were building an engine, you wouldn't be this aggressive with any of these, but seeing as these are all junk now, I'm just going to whack at it. Did have a go at the first one in the vise, but I didn't quite like the way that the vise was actually damaging it, so I don't have some nice soft jaws for it. So I've just got a little bolt here just to...
A few moments later.
Here we go, it's nice and seated in there nicely. Now all I've got to do is just centre up the rod itself. I'm just going to tweak that with this pry bar. So that's pretty good. Now, all that's to do is stick the clock face in and just give it a little bit of glue so there's no movement. I think with those surfaces so clean and so pretty much perfect, a little dab of super should hold the rod nice and central nicely. There we have it. Let's get that clock face in. Right, so the last tip now is just to sort out the angle of the rod to the piston and get it glued together. Now I'm just going to use normal old super glue for this. The tolerances of these parts now are so tight that just a tiny bit of super glue will hold it together, I reckon. Now to find that perfect 90-degree angle, I'm not sure if there's a proper way to do it, but I've got an edge here. And that's looking pretty good. I'm just looking at the distance between the rod and the edge of the straight edge. It's looking pretty good. I'm not sure if that's the proper way to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. Now, one of the last steps as well is to do this. Just press the clock face in there. I previously measured the diameter of the cap, and it came up as 52mm, so I bought a clock face that was 52mm, and as you can see, it just fits in there nicely. Let's glue it in. So I'm just going to do a couple little dabs down here where the rod meets the pin, just let that do its magic really. There we go. And the last step. Fantastic. So there we have it. Pretty simple little project to turn some old pistons that are otherwise pretty worthless into a cool little clock. Gift. Something for the coffee table, something for the bedside table. As I said previously, I'm going to be selling these piston clocks, so if you're interested in buying one, maybe drop me a message on Instagram. It's not quite your normal 4K garage content, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed it. If you did, as I always say, do all that good YouTube stuff. Give us a like, comment, or even subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think of the clocks. Till then, guys, have a good one. Cheers. Bye-bye.